Hello and welcome to another shoe review brought to you by the Altra Running Company. I'm Nathan, the owner here at the Altra Running Company, and I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about a shoe that we're pretty stoked about. We've had it for about a month or two now, and we think it's pretty fantastic. This is the Altra Escalante Racer, and while there is another shoe called the Escalante, we don't want you to get these two confused. They're very similar, but there's some really key differences that we wanted to call out. It's a little late in the cycle with the regular Escalante, so we'll be reviewing the Escalante 1.5 when it comes out in late fall of 2018. But for now, we want to really focus on the Escalante Racer, which is, we think, just a fantastic race day, fast running, comfortable fit new shoe from Altra. A couple things about it. First of all, just to cover the basics, the Escalante Racer is a zero drop, minimally cushioned road running shoe. And we'd say the same thing about the Escalante, but there's a big difference between these two in that they both fall into our minimally cushioned category. The Escalante has 25 millimeters of cushion, and the Escalante Racer has 22 millimeters of cushion. That may not seem like such a big deal, but what Altra talks about is that it has a firmer Altra Ego, and we'll get to that in a minute, feel. The reality of it is that they've taken out a thin layer of what they call A-bound material, which was between this cushion and your foot. And so you actually get a little bit more ground feel, a little bit more push off with the Escalante Racer at 22 millimeters than you would have with the Escalante at 25. And so that's a very nice thing for us anyways on race day to have, and so we really like that about this shoe. The zero drop, what we call a naturally cushioned shoe, basically means that there's the same amount of cushion in the heel as there is in the forefoot. This shoe is best for folks with a pretty efficient stride. If you're landing underneath your center of gravity or basically with your foot behind your knee, below or behind your knee, then this is going to be a great shoe for you. If you're landing and striking your heel, which probably means that your foot's a little bit out in front of your knee, in front of your center of gravity, this shoe is going to have the same amount of cushion here as here, and it's really not that much since it's a minimal shoe. So we really encourage this shoe for folks with a more efficient stride, a higher turnover, a cadence around that 180 or so, and so that's the folks that when they walk into the Altra Running Company are more likely to walk out with a less cushioned Altra. So as far as the tread on this, making the Escalante Racer a road running shoe, what we have is a very flat tread. One thing that's important to point out with Altras is that they're one of the very few companies to make truly gender-specific shoes. And what that means is, not that the shoes are functionally different in how they look and feel, but Altra's taken some time to actually narrow down the heel a little bit on their women's shoes and then extend the arch a little bit. What their studies have found is that typically the woman's foot has a slightly narrower heel and a slightly longer arch, so they're just trying to match the shoe up for that a bit more. Nothing wrong with women that have a wider heel or a shorter arch to try out the men's sizes. We're happy to do those conversions for you, but it is nice to have that option to truly fit a number of different feet. That's the bottom. On the top, on what we call the upper, which is everything above this cushioning layer, really fantastic change here from the Escalante. The Escalante is a really nice shoe if you're running in a straight line, and what they found and what we've seen is that for folks that tend to turn a little bit, maybe running quickly and you turn a corner, or if you're doing any kind of functional fitness, something along those lines, in the Escalante, because this engineered mesh is a little stretchier, basically people would tend to slide a little bit over the side. So we love the Escalante for running any kind of race, for running any type of training. But once you get into a faster race, if you're really trying to compete and go faster on it, turn corners, we tended to see people slide around a little bit. Really the only downside to the Escalante, and they've really fixed that with the Escalante Racer. What you'll see here is that the mesh is a little bit different between the two. Tighter mesh, but a more flexible material, a little more stretch in the Escalante, almost no stretch in the Escalante Racer. So while the actual knit portion has larger holes in it, they're very secure. So once you dial yourself into the Escalante Racer, you're there, and anytime your foot moves, the shoe's moving with you. That actually, in our experience, really translates back to the rear of the shoe, where once you put your ankle in here and tie this up, your ankle and forefoot are not going to move at all, midfoot, I'm sorry, are not going to move at all. It's actually difficult to get out of this shoe without untying it, whereas some shoes you're able to pull off even when they're tied up. This one really locks in, giving you that nice athletic feel. We think it's fantastic. That's a really nice change for more of a racing atmosphere. As far as the breathability of this shoe, as you can see from looking at some of these larger knit holes, air is going to go right through this. So if you're really pounding the pavement, warm days, anything where you're building up sweat or heat, this is really going to cool you down very nicely. Now, we mentioned this, by taking out that layer of A-bound, the Escalante Racer is actually a little bit closer to the ground. It's at 22 millimeters of overall cushioning between your foot and the pavement. What's interesting is that's exactly the same as the Solstice that we've reviewed in another shoe review. But what I want to point out is that these are very, very different shoes. Both have what they call an engineered mesh upper, but the Escalante Racer is designed, again, to hold your foot in really, really tightly. Also, the huge major difference is the Altra Ego is a TPU compound, and basically what that means is it's an expanded polyurethane type of rubber instead of a traditional compressed rubber or injected rubber. And so that polyurethane really absorbs a little bit more shock per inch, I guess, than your traditional rubber, which means that 22 millimeters on the Escalante Racer is going to give you a lot more bounce and a lot more what they'd call energy return than a traditional compressed rubber midsole. And so while you're still going to be able to feel the ground, the 22 millimeters on this shoe, in my opinion, feels like significantly more, whereas 22 millimeters on a traditional compressed rubber sole, it feels like 22 millimeters of cushion. So we feel like this one, while giving you the really nice ground feel, still gives you that protection that people really like right now, as far as keeping them from getting those jarring and shocking landings. So overall, really fun shoe. Talk a little bit about the weight, because that's another difference between the Escalante and the Escalante Racer. The Escalante itself is for women, comes in at 6.5 ounces, and for men at 8.2 ounces. The Escalante Racer comes in a full ounce less in those same sizes. So for the women, it comes in at 5.5 ounces, and for men it comes in at 7.2 ounces. Again, those are standard sizes, so when you step up to using a size 13 like I do, that's actually going to go up to about 11.1 ounces for the Escalante and 10.1 ounces for the Escalante Racer. So again, a very light shoe, really a nice speedy race day shoe, or something you can do some of your tempo runs. When I say tempo runs, something at a little quicker clip than your long, slow runs. This is a shoe I definitely choose for that. For us here at the store, this is probably also a shoe that you could run up to a marathon in, whereas something like the Solstice or the Vanisher for us personally are probably a little bit lower mileage shoes. So this is a really versatile shoe, everything from a 5K up to a marathon as far as races, and then everything from a light jog all the way up to a long daily run. It would be a fantastic shoe for as well. So price-wise, the Escalante Racer is $10 more expensive than the Escalante. It's always a limited edition shoe, so this year they've chosen Boston for the shoe. As we turn it around, you can see 2018 Boston. It's got a cool little insole, also says Boston. So you know where they're going with that, kind of a marketing ploy on that, but no marketing ploy on the rest of the shoe. This is a fantastic, fun shoe to get around in, makes you feel quick, and something that we like to get out there and run in. So swing on by the store, see if this is for you. If you like the Escalante but felt you were maybe moving around in a little bit much, this is the shoe for you. If you like the Escalante and wanted just a touch more ground feel, this is the shoe for you. And if you like the Escalante, then stick with it, because that's a fantastic shoe as well. And we're looking forward to getting the update on that later this year. Thank you very much for tuning in. We look forward to talking to you next time.